Fey once said, in most cases, being a good boss means hiring talented people and then getting out of their way. Except so many of us have had the sad experience of working for a micromanager. When someone stands over your shoulder, double checks everything you do, and makes you feel like you can't think for yourself, you work with a micromanager. It makes us feel unmotivated, upset, and trapped. When I put out the call for solutions with working with micromanagers, many of you shared some pretty sad stories. So it sounds like most of us can relate to how horrible it is to work with a micromanager. Our top 10 list this week is all about strategies and techniques to manage the situation without losing your sanity or your job. Our first tip comes from Lisa Hall from Dallas, Texas. Lisa shared that in her experience, the best advice for working with a micromanager has been to beat them at their own game. Run the traps ahead of any project, meeting, briefing, and be prepared to answer any question that arises before, during, and after. She sent me a funny clip from the movie The Devil Wears Prada that I'm sure most of us can remember. Her advice is spot on. Often a micromanager micromanages because of a lack of trust. You have to earn their trust, and showing that you can plan for any situation that may occur, doesn't always occur, but could occur, helps them learn to trust you. Show them that you think you can think 3 steps ahead and that you don't need them to do it for you. Preeti B from Scarborough, Ontario takes a similar approach by proactively providing them with a detailed report of all of her projects and where she is with each one of them. Though this is time consuming, Preeti felt that this reduced them having to ask her many questions and her needing to answer them at every turn. This approach also helps with trust issues by leaving any fears that they may have had by you being so productive. Yes, it does cost a lot of extra work, but it saves work too by not having to answer all the questions and all the time that a micromanager steals from us. Deb Beckers from Toronto, Ontario offered some helpful advice. Deb said that she just let him go on micromanaging and disassociated from that job. She said she could have been a way better E8 executive assistant to him, but there was no payoff for her ever. So she laughs now that she's no longer in the job, she said, because it's better than crying. Sometimes in our efforts to stop a micromanager, we micromanage the process ourselves. Part of the reason we hate being micromanaged so much is because the micromanaging boss wants full control. We don't like it because we want control as well. So if you can let it go, let it go. Cue the Disney music now. Don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you, and disassociate from their management style. I realize that this is easier said than done, but if you can let it go, let it go. It's not you. Brenda Hinnow from Happy Valley, Oregon brings us our fourth tip. Brenda says you need to have a professional but frank conversation with your manager. Brenda shared a story where she was told that she would be supporting another senior leader who had a reputation as a micromanager. Brenda asked to meet him outside the office to talk about the opportunity to work with him. She did not want to meet him in his office, which is his seat of power behind the glass-walled office. She shared that during their conversation, she was very frank, and that was surprising to him, but he appreciated her honesty about her concerns, and that she shared that their working relationship wasn't always sunshine and daisies, but discussing concerns and setting expectations and boundaries went a long way to making it work for both of them. Honesty is always a good policy. Number 5 is from Jeannie Hobb from Boulder Creek, California. Jeannie shared a story that her manager didn't seem to have enough to do, so he kept coming into her cubicle to see how things were going. Jeannie said she got up smiling and walked towards him, so he had to back up, and walked him right out of her cube while telling him that if he was concerned about the time things were taking, they'd go a lot faster if she could work without any interruptions. She said she was smiling the whole time with her cutest and lovingest smile, and I can just see it, Jeannie. He was a nice guy, she said, just clueless. Most micromanagers never see themselves as micromanagers. By Jeannie pointing out that he was interfering, he couldn't help but see it. Barbara Munshaw from Manotick, Ontario said that she kept records of her appraisals, which were always good. And she would have a discussion with her manager about their trust, asking when she should expect to see trust from them. If nothing ever changed, Barbara said she went to their managers and let them know what was going on. While this is not the first step in fixing a micromanager, I would take it as it is a valuable one when you have tried everything and still can't move without being micromanaged. If you can't bring it to the attention of senior management, they may never see what you are experiencing. Number 7 is from Richard Arnott from Perth, Scotland. Richard said, we need to ask ourselves a question. Is my manager happy with the way things are? And is this just my ego getting in the way? Richard says there are 2 types of micromanagers, the passive ones and the aggressive ones. With the passive micromanager, they are not doing it nastily and are probably pretty good to work with otherwise. Ask yourself, it is you that has the problem and not them. The aggressive micromanager is the one who needs to be managed and is probably not you who has the problem, but them. Micromanagement is just one symptom of who they are. There will be many more unpleasant behaviors on display, unfortunately. How you deal with them really depends on your circumstances, yours and theirs. So that's a great question, Richard, that allows us to look into the mirror and see where the problem really lies. It's not always a pretty picture. Calgary, Alberta, and Kelly Morrison brings us to number 8. Kelly tells us to over-communicate. Understand what's important to them and give them updates before they ask. Now, this also boosts your own awareness as well. So she takes her advice a step further and asks her manager, what's important for you over the next couple of days? This allows her to see their priorities and potentially mitigate any micromanaging that might be on the horizon. Lisa Olson-Tilley from Naperville, Illinois says, just breathe. Simple advice, yet it can be so hard to do. Lisa reminds us that all what we do every day is not brain surgery and no one's life is at stake. The next time your micromanager comes calling, take 3 deep breaths and remind yourself people are not dying because of this. We do not need to invoke our own fight or flight reaction. We do not need the stress. Breathe and put the whole thing into perspective. And our final tip came from many of you. Recognize when it's time to find a new job. Sherry Moen from Des Moines, Iowa shared that at the end of the day, she would get in her car and cry all the way home. That is not what we want to do. Recognize when your attempts are not working and take care of yourself. Accept that you work with a manager and let it go, or change it with a lot of the tips that we have shared here, or leave your job and go where you aren't working with a micromanager. It will never be easy working with a micromanager, which is why we have these great tips shared by you. We've been there, done that, and many of us have the t-shirt. The next time it happens, you have a long list of solutions to employ. Good luck.